Performance of the night, obviously Grant Fisher.
What about the guy who beat him?
I don't like performances of the night being a second place. Okay, I hate it. They should invalidate the American record. He did not win the race. National records for major countries should only be allowed if you win the race. So Ireland, well done. You get your record. You won the 1500. Grant, invalidated. No, not really, but I hate it when a guy gets like fifth or sixth and gets the record. And for me, this race delivered in so many levels because not only did Grant get the record, and we now have super shoes, so it's a little bit different. I mean, who knows what these guys would run back in the day? Now pacing lights. I think pacing lights could be just as big of a factor in this as the shoes. I mean, just the pacing now is perfect, but to contend for the win the whole way, to be up there on the pace, not afraid to challenge, to do it. You know, he tripped on the rail at Worlds, and so I think this is some redemption for him. I just love seeing it because I want to see fast American distance runners, obviously, but I want to see competitive distance runners. If you're breaking records and a non-factor in the world stage, it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let Noah Nyen know that his 3:43 Kenyan mile record no longer counts in the eyes of Let'sRun.com because he didn't win the race when he ran that time. So I can let him know, or you can let him know, either way. But yeah, no, this was terrific to see Fisher battling for the win. It was nice because at the bell, I just knew, all right, the American record, it's done. We know he's going to get that. He's going to break it by a lot. Now I can just focus. I don't need to be watching the clock to see if he gets the time. I can just focus if he beats Krop. And my goodness, did Jacob Krop look smooth in this race? I mean, usually when it comes down to one guy on another guy's shoulder at the bell and one of them's been leading for 4 laps, just pushing the pace, he was running 61, 61, 61, and then closes in 57. You're thinking, all right, the second place guy is just going to peel by him. This is how it goes. No, Jacob Krop, so smooth, so strong. It didn't even look like he was started sprinting or anything, lost 100. He just sort of widens out his stride and pulls away. So that was a really beautiful piece of running by him. And we forgot, here's the key ingredient, okay? You want to run fast, you want a 5K in the 1240s, you want to run a personal best, get Yumif Kajelcha on that start line because this guy is the key ingredient. After 3K, when the rabbit drops off, he will go to the front. He'll push the pace for you for a few laps. He did it back in 2018 when we saw Solomon Barrega run 12:43 in Brussels. He did it back earlier this year in Rome, where we saw Krop and Nicholas Kipkorea run 12:46, 12:47. And he did it again tonight. Now, Krop took over with just over a mile to go, and he really did sort of the hard yards, as they might say on the broadcast. But Kajelcha, that's what you need. You need one of those guys to be willing to sacrifice his race. Kajelcha dropped out of this race. That's how hard he pushed in the middle stages. You need someone to be able to say, hey, I don't care if I don't win or if I don't even finish in the top 5. I'm going to make this hard. And that's what he did tonight. So he deserves credit. Krop obviously deserves credit for pushing the pace and winning, but that's why we saw this slew of times. I mean, look at the results here. Krop PB, Grant Fisher PB, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all run personal best. 9 of the top 10, including Stuart McSwain gets under 13 minutes for the first time ever. Luis Grijalva, big PB, 13:02. And Andreas Almgren of Sweden goes from 13:29 to 13:01. So just a slew of huge PBs. And then the guy who won a week ago in Lausanne, in Monaco 2 weeks ago, Thierry Ndiku Mwenayo, distant 11th place, 13:10. So I don't really know what to make of this event. All I know is that race was awesome.
John, you talked about Kajelcha. I mean, for those of you listening on the Supporters Club podcast, you're not seeing the screen. I showed a screenshot. He was up there with 10:49. How do you drop it? You can't even make it 2.5 more minutes? No, 2 more minutes. That's with 2 laps to go. And you sort of forget about things because with this screenshot, there's a slight gap there between Branson, like third. Let me put it back up there. Yeah, there's the first 2 guys, and there's like a 3-meter gap, probably 5-meter gap to Grant in third and Kajelcha in fourth. And I think that's probably the pivotal moment in the race for Grant. He still probably might break the record. Oh, I don't know, actually, John. Oh, yeah. Kipkorea still ran 12:50 in third. I mean, fourth place, 12:52. So he still would have gotten the record if he fell off there. but contending for the win, making it even more exciting. Here's the time. Like Jelcha starts fading back. Is he going to go around him or is he going to play it safe? He went around him, got back up on the lead, and that's when I thought, oh my God, he might pull this off.
Yeah, there were two key points there. Right around 800, that gap between first and second, third and fourth, he showed some run. And then a lap later with 500 meters to go, the second placer falls off. Fisher goes right around him. Then I got kind of excited. I was like, wow, could he possibly win this? And I was thinking, as the race is going on, if he wins this, is this the greatest distance season for an American in the professional era? And maybe you can quibble with Bernard Lagat. Let's call that a mid-distance season for him, or I can't say American-born season because Fisher was, of course, famously born in Canada. Maybe non-African-born season. But were you guys? John doesn't root, I know, because he's a professional journalist. I do root. Were you rooting for Fisher? I had mixed emotions for this. I was glad that he was going for it, and I was like, wow, this is what he needs to do, is really put himself in it. Kudos, like A+ for the effort. But I was like, part of me was like, no, man, I don't want you to win this. I may have to take my American card away from me, because I was like, this Crop guy's done all the work. He deserves it, and led the entire final 1,700 meters. And it looked like one guy was jogging, though, and one guy's car, like, engine was maxed out. Like, super run for Grant, but justice was served at the end of this one. Like, Crop deserved that when you lead for 1,700 meters in a 12:45 race. So somebody who also looked incredibly smooth earlier in this one was Grijalva. I can't believe he ran 13:02, because you can barely see these guys in the screen. He was up there. Major props to him, though. Early on, it's a couple rabbits, and then it's like Fisher and Grijalva and then Fisher. I'm like, wow, he's going for it. And he looks so smooth. And I was thinking, literally, again, in my head during the race, what if it ends up that Luis Grijalva is the best distance runner on the planet? This is going to blow my mind as to what's possible. Because you know me, guys, I'm always into the East African genetics. Thankfully, at the end of this race, my East African genetics got up to the top, but it was a little nerve-wracking there for a little bit. But Stewie McShane, 12:56.50, John, you're the genius. What is the Aussie record? That's got to be pretty damn close to it.
Oh, he ran 12:56. I didn't even realize that. I'm pretty sure the Aussie record is 12:55 by Craig Mottram. So they said 12:58 on the broadcast, so it had me a little screwed up. By the way, for those of you watching the broadcast on Peacock, which I'm sure is most of the people tuned in to the podcast right now, did you catch the Let'sRun.com shout out? They didn't say it specifically, but with about 500 meters to go in one of the greatest races of Grant Fisher's life, the international feed is always going to document that there was a lot of message board chatter about what he could do this week in Brussels. One of those threads I started, there was another prediction thread, maybe prediction of the year on Let'sRun.com. I think they said that Grant Fisher was going to run 12:46.79. And his final time was, okay. Michigan runner 55. Brussels 5K is being paced for 12:45. I predict Fisher will run 12:46.79. What does everyone else think? Now, it wasn't exactly 0.79, but it was 0.96. I think Michigan runner 55 deserves to take a victory lap, a Rojo-sized victory lap on the message board this week.
Well, John, remember when you deduct 0.24 for the hand time to the automatic time conversion, it's even closer. But incredible race. But looking big picture wise, can we just still admit it's going to be hard for this guy to medal?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the results today. It's the 5,000. The best guy in the world in this event was not running this race. Jakob Ingebrigtsen, the world champion. And then you look at all the other people in this race. You run this race 2 weeks ago, you get a totally different order. Ndika Mwenayo from Burundi, again, smoked all these guys in Monaco. Now, granted, that was a little different because they went out super fast. A few people died. A few people were hanging back. But different style of race. But he was 11th today, okay? Krop was the silver medalist at Worlds. He wins it. Then you've got Lobalu from South Sudan. He won a few weeks ago in Stockholm. Oscar Chelimo was third at Worlds, but he's only 7th in this place. Grijalva was 4th at Worlds, but 9th in this race. and Fisher was 6th and he finishes 2nd. You could shake all those guys up. It's probably a totally different order. There's a lot of depth, and you need it all. You need to be in super good shape and for it to come together on the day. It did not come together for Grant Fisher on the day at the World Championships. I think, given that we still have Worlds to come in 2023 and 2025 with an Olympics in between, if Fisher gets to the start line of all those races healthy and fit, he'll get at least one medal. But it's not easy unless you're an Ingebrigtsen level talent where you're just clearly the best guy. It's never going to be easy to pick up these medals.
Well, I think right now, well, it would have been interesting. Jakob, I wanted to see you run a fast 5,000 this year. You never broke 13. What would he would have done in this race? But I think in general, look, he and Kropp, they deserve to be considered number uno and number dos in the 5,000 for this year. I was glad that.
Well, Kropp was only 3rd at Commonwealths. Just remember that. I think Kropp, this with his Worlds performance, super impressive, but it's going to be a hell of a job ranking them at the end of the year because he lost to Jacob Kiplimo and he lost to, who was the other guy he lost to at the Commonwealths? I'm just looking it up 1 second. The silver medalist in that race was Nicholas Kipkorea. So it's tough.
No, it's not tough. He's got to be number 2 or number 1. Ingebrigtsen may not have enough performances to be number 1 by track and field news standards. So you get silver, you want a world lead and you get the silver at Worlds, you're number 2. So, but John, who was the guy that cited us on the broadcast? That was
Chris Dennis.
I'm glad he brought it up because I was a little disappointed in my boy Tim Hitchings. John, isn't he a Brighton fan like yourself in the English Premier League? He clearly hadn't been to Let's Run in a while because he made a rare mistake on there. He was like, Grant Fisher's, wow, he's up here. He's only got a 13. Oh, he's never broken 13. And that drives me nuts. They have these stat sheets, and clearly they list their outdoor PRs only. A PR should be listed as indoor, outdoor. Nobody cares if they didn't run it outdoors. Like, I mean, yeah, if it's wind aided, note that. But like, I was like, wow, he clearly hasn't been on Let's Run in a while. Well, I was a little down in the dumps. I was like, maybe we should switch to becoming a sprint site, John. I mean, by the way, thanks to the Google algorithms, our article on Sha'Carri Richardson, Win in Lucerne is probably going to be the most read article of Let's Run this year. But no, thankfully at the end, now we're vindicated.
Well, apologies to Tim Hutchings because that's his name, not Tim Hitchings. So respect is a two-way street. But a couple other things on Fisher before we move on to the rest of an incredible meet. I want to go there. The thread from 2015, the infamous Let's Run thread. Grant Fisher isn't even the best high school athlete from the state of Michigan this year. And they were referring to Donavan Brazier. And for a long time, it looked like that poster was a genius because Donavan Brazier is breaking American records left and right. He's the world champion in the 800 in 2019. But, you know, I wasn't totally ready to concede that Brazier was going to have a better career when it's all said and done than Grant Fisher. I don't think Grant Fisher will ever win the Olympics or World Championships. I think he's maybe has a chance to do it, but it's just very, very hard, as we said earlier. But do you think he can still have a better career than Donavan Brazier, given what he's done at just a variety of distances? He's got the 5,000, 10,000, 3,000 American records outdoors this year. He was 4th and 6th at Worlds. He's an Olympian, which Donavan Brazier cannot say. Do we think that Grant Fisher can have a better career? And if you had to judge them right now, are you still going Brazier 1, Fisher 2?
Yes, I'm going Brazier 1. He's the world champion. But I don't know. If at some point, right, the longevity of the career, the multitude of stuff matters, but a world championship medal, gold medal, it's going to be hard to beat. But it's different stuff, mid-D. If Brazier's hurt the rest of his career and doesn't do anything, and Fisher goes on and he's sort of like Galen Rupp, minus the medals, would you then put him above Brazier? Probably not.
I think I would.
Of course you would. I think it's close right now, their careers, despite the world title. He had that one great year, right, for Brazier?
Well, yeah, 2019, he had the great year. He won a U.S. title in 2017, but he's made one global final in the 800 meters, and he won it in a championship record. I mean, it was a great, great season. he had the misfortune, really, one of his best years was 2020 when he ran 143 in Monaco. I think if there was an Olympics that year, he probably would have run it. And he hasn't been healthy since then. So it's unfortunate one of his years got taken away from COVID, basically.
But we got to give credit to my source that's never wrong, because to recognize Donavan Brazier's talent when Brazier was in high school, when Fisher was getting all the accolades, was impressive. All right, guys, I'm going to try to restart my computer. Hopefully you can see my face in a little bit. Why don't you guys keep going? Oh, but can you guys please? Everyone was setting PRs in this race, except for the other Americans in this race. So please talk about that, because the gap, how in the hell did Fisher even lose to Woody Kincaid this year? I don't know how that's possible, but not Woody Kincaid, excuse me, Joe Klecker.
How did he lose to Joe Klecker? He made a strategic error. He was way stronger than Joe Klecker, and he let it come down to an 800-meter race and let Klecker get the lead. So when you make tactical errors, you can still get beaten, especially if it's a kicker's race. That's how he got beat. I think we all know that, right?
Yeah, I think so. But it's sort of shocking. I think it was a message board thread before the race. Like, how's Grant Fisher going to break the American record when Joe Klecker is going to beat him? And I'm like, what are you guys smoking? I get it. I mean, Dathan Height on athletics, sort of like the breakthrough thing. And I was going to say U.S. distance running, but they have foreigners on their team, and Ollie Horse, one of their best guys. But they've done such a good job. But no, Grant Fisher's like a whole nother level. I mean, it's kind of crazy to say that, right? Above Joe Klecker right now. But
Oh, he is.
Yes, on the international level, he's a rung above.
Yeah, I mean, look at we knew this after the Olympics last year, because Grant Fisher got fourth at the Olympics, and Kincaid and Klecker weren't even close to contending in their events. We see it again at the World Championships. It's just there is a gap between Grant Fisher, even though he's only got won one of the 4 U.S. titles on offer between 5K and 10K the last 2 years. He's clearly a cut above those two. And there's nothing to be ashamed of for Woody and Joe. I'm sure they're a little disappointed. This was the perfect race to dip under 13 minutes if you're in shape to do so. I know Kincaid's already done it, but like Joe Klecker, if you wanted to break 13, today was the day to do it. And he'll probably view this as a missed opportunity. Maybe he's just not as fit as he was a little earlier in the year. Either way, they're just not quite as good as Grant Fisher right now. Okay, so much else to talk about from this meet. Weldon, should we go 800 or 1500? I think they were both equally compelling.